So I was doing some research on the Baltimore Ravens receiving core, and I'm just talking the wide receivers. I'm not talking about Mark Andrews for a second. If you total up their entire receiver depth chart and total the amount of receiving yards they had last season, the total is 1,012. There are 25 single players, including Mark Andrews, who had more receiving yards than the Ravens' entire receiving room. How concerned are you about the receivers in Baltimore and how that might hold them back from being the team that, frankly, it looks like they were going to be the last couple of years, and it's never really quite developed in January?
I'm concerned, but it's also a really progressive and smart coaching staff in front office. And they did take a really talented wide receiver in Rashad Bateman last year. Now, he was hurt, never really got consistently going, but I still believe in his talent. I do think he's a fit for this offense. But the rest of the wide receiver room is right now you're starting wide receivers. You're lining up if you're going in a three wide receiver set.
Yep.
You got Rashad Bateman, you got Devin Duvernay, and you got is it James Prochet?
It's not good.
Right. So what you're going to have to do, and this is certainly a reflection of the offense that they're running in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, and I think Hollywood Brown kind of made this point that it's not predicated on a number one wide receiver. The whole offense is built on the strength of Lamar Jackson in the running game. It's so interesting to me, like just sort of how this team is put together, like purely based off of this team skill set, which is good offensive line, electric athletic quarterback who showed, by the way, in his MVP year that he can make plenty of throws downfield. I still love Lamar Jackson in this league. I don't think he's slowed down one bit. The injuries are a little bit of a concern, but when he's healthy, I think he's as dangerous as almost anybody. And you have a really good tight end in Mark Andrews. They just don't care about passing the ball. They use it as a means to be more threatening with their run game. And their run game can be very good. J.K. Dobbins, when healthy, is an electric runner. Gus Edwards is an absolute beast inside. They just signed Mike Davis. Justice Hill is still hanging around if they need more of the running back depth. Remember, they went through a ton of backs and lost multiple guys in the preseason last year. So between Jackson getting hurt and multiple running backs going down very early in the season, like they're going to get healthy this year. And Bateman is hopefully going to be healthy. So I'm concerned because the level of talent compared to the rest of the league doesn't hold up, but it's also an offense that doesn't really care about what that passing numbers are going to look like.
Right. So that kind of leads me to my point. I'm not worried about them in the regular season because they are very well coached. I think defensively they will be much better. Humphrey will be back this year. Yep. Peters will be back. They drafted Kyle Hamilton to play safety.
Yeah, it's a great secondary.
Great. That team knows how to win football games. Like that, and look, I get it. Like from an analytics perspective, people would roll their eyes so far back in their heads they'd be blind, but they do. They know how to win. I worry a little about the offensive line. Is Ronnie Stanley cooked? I think that's a fair question after what unfortunately has been a really injury-marred last couple of years. But they're going to run if Dobbins and and Gus Edwards are both healthy. They're gonna rush for probably 2,500 yards as a team. It's not even more than that. I mean, they're just going to with Lamar and everything else. The problem I have with them, and I think they're going to be a lot better than people think. I think they're slept on as much as any team in football. I wouldn't be shocked if they win 12 games. The problem I have with them is come the playoffs, when you play the best teams, you have to care if you can throw the football. Like you have to care about that. In today's NFL, you can't play one way all the time, and that's just going to ride you to the Super Bowl. I worry about them, and it's been shown over and over in the postseason. They can't score. I mean, they just get into these games where, and I know the game in Buffalo, the weather was a huge factor. It was a brutal day weather-wise. But guess what? It's Buffalo. If you go up there again in January, it's probably going to be brutal. Like the odds you're getting 60 and sunny in January in Buffalo, not great.
All right.
If you go to Arrowhead, It may not be Buffalo. It's probably going to be pretty cold. And in Baltimore, it's probably going to be somewhat cold. Now, you might get a little bit of a better day in Baltimore than you would in Kansas City, certainly in Buffalo. Cincinnati, it's going to be cold. Like, all the teams that are really good, outside of maybe if you believe in the Chargers, I mean, even Denver, it's going to be cold. Like, those are cold places to play. They have struggled in those games to throw the ball for any amount of real yardage. Now, does the weather play a part in that? Maybe, but the other teams have been able to score enough points to win. Um, and I just worry with Andrews as the one big guy. Any reasonable team in the playoffs is just going to double him and say beat us anywhere else. And I worry about that for them. I think they're a really good team. I think they could win the North. I think they could contend. But I think at some point, like if the Bills get into a problem in 3rd and 12, they've got Diggs. If the Chiefs get in that same problem, they have Kelsey. You know, if the Bengals get in that problem, they got a million guys. If the Ravens get into 3rd and even 8, if you double Andrews, then what? I mean, there's nowhere to go, and he's gonna have to run for the first down. I thought last year, and then I'll leave it at this. You remember that game they played Thursday night against Miami in Miami.
Yes.
Brian Flores in that game played cover 0 all night. They got on the line of scrimmage. They blitzed the shit out of them and just said, go ahead, throw it. We don't care. And they couldn't do anything. And now where's Brian Flores? He's on the Steelers. You think they might see that game plan twice? So I think it's just that is a concern I have for them. Is I think in the regular season they'll figure it out. They're smart. They know what to do. They're well run. In the postseason, being smart's not enough because everybody's smart. It becomes really hard to win those games.
No doubt. You're relying a lot on Bateman taking that next step. And again, like the skill set is very different than that of Hollywood Brown. Like he's not going to be that deep threat for him. He's a guy that's a possession receiver.
Yep.
Move the chain. So like in a pinch, it actually makes a little bit more sense to go ahead and rely on somebody like him as opposed to Hollywood Brown. So maybe that's what they're banking on. And I'm with you. I think Baltimore is a very dangerous team. Like I like their over quite a bit when it comes to their win total this year because it's going to be an improved defense. You're going to finally get healthy. You know, I think most sportsbooks right now have it at around 9 or 9.5. Baltimore is at least a 10-win team to me.
I think overall,
Especially if we think there's regression coming out of Cincinnati.
Easily.